Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the 11th episode of the Hawk's Eye View. This is in a bit of a unique format here. We're recording inside Mr. Cornett's room, the place we use on Thursdays to meet up. And we're recording using the phone, so hopefully that doesn't do too much to our audio quality. Anyways, there's a bit of a unique story behind this episode, but I'll save that for later to bring up. And as the title has probably clued you in, this episode's about school breaks, those seasonal reprieves from undoubtedly endless suffering from my own experience, but maybe the board has their own ways of thinking of it. Speaking of the board...
So, hi again, I'm Hafsa.
Hi, I'm Sebastian.
Okay. So, we decided to talk about the breaks while thinking and being grumpy about the pretty unreasonable time between winter and spring break compared to all of the other gaps.
Yeah, kind of bugged me. But another quick note, this script was conceptualized before spring break, so we were being grumpy about that. But now it's just waiting until summer break, wistfully looking on, hoping that it'll come someday. Eventually. Without further ado, though, we can get to sharing our research. So, school breaks are actually a fairly recent development in schooling, only coming into effect with the standardizing of school calendars in the late 1900s. Back then, school was a bit looser in its calendar. Students came when they could, but typically had to meet a threshold of attendances to not get penalized for it. This openness meant that technically, school was open every day of the year. However, the lack of air conditioning meant that in the summer, schools would be sweltering hot. Barely anyone went, and to accommodate many schools decided to just call it a break over the summer. And most of the other short breaks followed suit, just to give students room to breathe.
Of course, these breaks have been implemented differently across the world. Most of the school breaks don't have much behind them, but there are some things to note. In East Asia, Japan, and Korea have a Children's Day on May 5th. In Japan, it actually used to be a boys' day, with a girls' day to match. But after the Second World War, to lift spirits, it was made to celebrate all youth of Japan and their progress. In Korea, it's more of a national pride thing. Another thing in Japan is Coming of Age or Adults Day, meant to welcome the 20-year-olds officially entering adulthood in Japan.
Unfortunately, from here, our research was stopped dead in the track. Most other Asian or European school calendars match near identical to ours in terms of breaks, and most other places just don't have much variety. So before we get on talking about this episode's weird pipeline story, we'll share some beef we might have with each of the breaks. Maybe some plans we have or consistent things we usually spend the breaks doing personally. You start.
Okay, well, personally, I don't have that much beef with each of the breaks. As we mentioned at the top of this episode, the break between, the intermission between winter and spring break is a bit too long for my tastes. Coming back from actually any of the breaks really just hits like a semi-truck right to the face. So, I think school breaks should be more separated and spaced out so that we can still get the same amount of break time for each of the years, yet like shorter breaks but more breaks. I feel like that sounds like a good time for breaks. Break count in this episode. But regardless, my plans for summer break, I don't have that many actually. It's mostly just preparing for high school. I think all of us are doing that actually.
So when I used to live in Canada, winter and summer breaks were always my favorite because winter breaks, obviously, there'd be a lot of snow. Sometimes it'd be too cold to do anything, but you'd have just like a full 2 weeks to play in the snow with your friends. And then during the summer breaks, we stopped this when we moved to California, but during the summer break, we would go to Prince Edward Island, which is off the coast of Nova Scotia, I don't know. And so we'd go camping there, and that was really fun. We'd do it every summer, but we stopped after a while. Spring break, I think it's a nice time between like winter and summer. You kind of get a bit of time to relax probably your parents do a lot of spring cleaning. But personally, I don't have any quote-unquote beef with the breaks because I actually like going to school, because during the break, especially with COVID and all, you don't really get to see your friends, but when you come back to school, you get to see them all, and yeah.
Oh yeah, I didn't mention the things I personally do over each break. Spring break and summer break is usually camping, and winter break, and sometimes even spring break, I go skiing with my family. Other than that, the activities we do are usually pretty variable. Okay, just a little quick cut there, just in case you're wondering. Now we are recording on Zoom like we usually do. We were recording in person, in class, on my phone, all that stuff. But we were doing it during lunch and the bell cut us off. So we decided to just move it to here after school. So yeah, here we are. And we'll just pick up right where we left off. So yeah, let's get right back to it. Aspen?
Okay, so, yeah, well, I usually, during summer, before COVID, I went to, like, Hawaii and stuff for the summer, but, not doing that anymore, and because of COVID, and, for winter, I think I went to, like, my grandparents' house, COVID again, that we can't do that, because she's in New York, and, for spring break, 1 week isn't really like that much to like go anywhere, so I just stay home and do random things. Yeah.
All right, now that topic's all done and dusted, I'll really quickly go over this weird pipeline story that the episode had. This is mostly a get these things off my chest kind of thing, but hey, who says we can't describe some behind the scenes action? So this episode started, as we already mentioned a while ago. We wrote it down, then just kept it in the pipeline for a while. Then we had a bunch of other episodes, like one, like that pop-up, what was that episode about? The one about the save presentations. That was just to like avert this one from happening. We were like, hey, the save presentation just happened, let's do that instead. And so we did. And then this one just stayed in the pipeline for a while. And we were going to actually do a Ramadan episode for our 11th episode, because, you know, the month was almost ending and we thought it'd be really fitting. But over spring break, we weren't able to get a survey out to the entire school because Brown thought that a survey aimed at such a small demographic of people sent out to the entire school would be a little bit pointless, and he's right. He was right. And we weren't able to get other people and share their experiences, which is really what these kinds of cultural traditions are all about, right? And so we decided to lean back on this episode. And this story is really just to demonstrate all the crazy things that can happen when you're building like just any product for people to enjoy or watch or listen to. And that's really just the entire story of our podcast. There have been a lot of things that have been happening, and sometimes it can get rough and we can't come up with anything. But with all the difficulties, I've learned to always make a backup plan, put things in the pipeline, and communicate with the team, and all that other, and there are plenty of other things that are, I feel, really vital to this kind of role. So overall, I'm glad I've started the podcast. Despite most of it being kind of floppy, it's good to learn the difficulties of wrangling a team of misfits before there are actual consequences in failing to do so. And sometimes it's just fun to chat with them. So regardless, thank you for watching this episode of the Hawk's Eye View. Maybe you can understand all these challenges, probably not, but thank you anyway, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.